But now to dive into the show proper, we're going to be kicking things off with the indie of the week and the first indie for 2025. Now, Jerry had some fangled idea about doing Napoleonics or something like that, but he's not here. He's covered in blood right now. So I thought I would revisit a company that we have looked at in the past, I think a couple of years ago now at this point, but they have massively expanded since then, and that is the folks from Medbury Miniatures. Now, Medbury Miniatures, run by Andrew Medbury, is over in Australia. So, you know, we've looked at Japanese stuff that's coming from across the other side of the world. We also have Australian stuff as well. But Medbury do some absolutely fantastic bits and pieces for both historical and fantasy wargamers. All of their stuff is done in 28mm metal as physical releases, although you tend to sometimes get a few kind of resin bits here and there. But they also do 3D printing, which we have looked at in the past. And we talk about quite a lot in the news and stuff as well. And they tend to do both a historical and a fantasy release every month, which is really cool. So you'll always get a nice mix of kind of medieval stuff or Dark Age bits and pieces alongside something that is very close to Middle Earth, shall we say? Center globe. There we go. That's what it is.
I can't believe it's not Middle Earth.
Yes.
Center continent.
Center continent. There you go. That's a good idea. Yeah. But I thought we'd dive in and have a look at some of the physical stuff that they've got on offer. So the next tab, we've got some of their fantasy bits and pieces. And this is where the Middle Earth heart of my body goes boom, 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 boom. And they have some really stunning bits and pieces. So a long time ago, they released their dwarves, and these are still some of the best. And a flashing clansman. Yep. Let's zoom in right on that.
He may look mildly Australian.
Yeah.
he's just saying, look what 6 weeks of leg day does for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at how tight these buns are.
New
year, new leg day.
Yeah.
New year, new butt.
Yeah. Some good brush control to get those looking right. Really nice highlighting. Yeah. But yes.
I don't know. It depends on what he's facing. There might need some streaking there.
Oh, yeah. But as you can see, there's a really nice breakdown of a few bits and pieces. So I think we'll maybe look at maybe two of these, I suppose, because there's some other stuff to look into. So while I would delve deeper into the dwarves, you can see kind of what they've got here. I really like their elves stuff. I think it's absolutely fantastic. They've recently done a lot more of these to cover sort of kind of your high elves and your wood elves at the same time. So depending on how you wanted to paint them, you could really take them in different directions. They are absolutely stunning sculpts. I've been able to get a whole bunch of the historical stuff through things like their Kickstarter, and also I was very lucky enough to get a few from Medbury himself as well, just to have a look at their Beowulf bits and pieces, and they are absolutely lovely. The detail on them is phenomenal, and most of them are one piece. Occasionally you'll get 2-piece miniatures depending on what they're armed with and things like that, but essentially they just slot on top of the bases effectively, and away you go. You've got those nice little puddles and everything to them, but the detail on them is gorgeous. And I am a nerd for hoods, and a good hood makes all the difference. Not in that way. And so having those really nice, awesome options there for those elves with a nice little point at the back of them is absolutely fantastic. And because they've got the two different variants in there, you can go for kind of like your wood elf vibes or your high elf vibes. So I like these guys, like the Gwyrgalas, are very much in line with kind of the Lothlorien-y Thranduil's Hall type look that you get from Middle Earth. Obviously with all that scale armor and those really nice, I wouldn't like face coverings almost, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like a male kind of thing over the face.
Yeah, it's not quite a coif, but it's kind of similar. Especially, and elves with axes is always such a badass thing to me. Because, you know, they're big, lithe guys and you always see them running around with swords and bows. But I love the idea that they just put all their weight behind an axe to chop you to pieces, which I think is really nice. Very good there. Another one of their fantasy bits and pieces that I really like are their rangers. So if you click on those, you'll see some really nice things. So if you're looking to play out, you know, the adventures of Aragorn and the rest of the Rangers of the North and things, you'll be able to get those. An exiled noble. I wonder who that is.
That's a very Saragron.
Yes. Love it.
How do you have someone's name to make it sound like them, but not them?
Yeah.
Pig Latin's the way, man.
It's the Grok version of them. Yeah. What I really like about this range as well is obviously it's really good for Middle Earth, and obviously for filling in some of the gaps that are left out by Games Workshop and things where they don't have everything in production all the time. But I think these are really nice if you're looking to dive into something like Rangers of Shadow Deep, because that almost has a little bit of a Middle Earth vibe to it anyway. And so having some of these options in there as well could be really good for building up your warbands and taking it in different directions, using them to represent not just your sort of your Rangers and that kind of thing from the north, but also things like your Gondorians as well. So you could often use these for, your Faramir's Rangers and things like that. It would be a really nice option for those.
Yeah, it might be nice for you, John, seeing as you're starting to do a little bit.
I don't see any
Well, we'll get to those in a second.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So if we move into the next tab, we'll have a look at some of their medieval stuff and then we'll come back. So their medieval bits and pieces have become one of their more recent releases. It's a really nice little selection of stuff that would be very good for people who are diving into things like the Barons' War at the moment. The other thing that I've really liked is the fact that we get to see a lot more of the painted images as well. I mean, I know they're quite tiny. There you go. That's Jerry for you.
He's here in spirit.
Yeah.
Horse dazzle!
Ride forward and blur the eyes of your enemies. Yeah.
I mean, if they're making a water landing, John, they'll not see the horse.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of their focus at the moment has been on things like the 100 Years' War, for example. So we've seen a lot of stuff designed for both the English and the French. And you tend to find a lot of the sort of core infantry that's been built up for both of those sides. A lot of the time you'll find them broken down into saga elements, if you will. So, that kind of standard 4, 8, 12, etc. that you see when you build saga warbands. And that's kind of where they've gone with that, especially because you can get into the medieval stuff now with Saga and their new Age of Chivalry, I think it is, rulebook, or the supplement that they did for that. So you'll be able to use those to make up your warriors and Hearthguard and everything else for that, which is really nice. But the other thing that's really good about it is that because they do so many different components and things from the 3D printing side of things, the miniatures that they then do in metals come in really nice poses with lots of different options and things, as you can see here. You will have to provide your own spears. That is one of the things that they do with this. That
means it's going to be the brass super pointy ones like I got for Christmas.
Oh, yeah. They're
like
the ones that
make stabby. Be careful,
make you bleed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're doing blood effects, sure, but you don't need to go that far.
And for those people who don't necessarily want to play as the English or the French, they do also have a bunch of Scottish miniatures as well. They've done a few more as part of their most recent Patreon releases, but they've also started to add a few more of those into their metal range here as well. Now, one of the things I did mention is that the range itself, you can keep looking through it, John. It's all good. Just keep flicking through. One of the things I did mention.
Oh, zombies.
Yeah. You kill enough Frenchmen, they will come back at one point.
Well, no, that's only if you insult the cooking.
That's true. Yeah.
Or is that Italian?
Yeah. You didn't sous vide properly. Most of the time, as I said, sorry, the company is Australian, and so a lot of their stuff is sold from Australia. So you'll have shipping and all that kind of thing involved with getting your hands on the physical elements and stuff like that. But Infamous JT over here in the UK has started to do the stocking of the metals for people over here. So if you are in the UK or Europe, you can get your hands on it. Currently, the website was down this week, but I believe that they're working to try and get it back up again so you can get your hands on all these miniatures. So just keep an eye out and maybe wait a little while to see if you can get the metals from Infamous JT, who did stuff for like the Polish and all that kind of thing in World War II, which is great. And yeah, you should be able to get your hands on it over here fairly easily, which is nice. They are going to be doing a whole bunch of releases at CanCon this month. So that's the Australian convention in Canberra. So if you are interested in getting your hands on stuff and you do live over in Australia, the land of spiders and death, then you'll be able to go and get those for yourself from Andrew in person, which is nice. The archers, oh my God, the archers are so cool. Oh,
yeah.
God.
See, I do like the posing on these, and they take care of that bugbear of mine where they actually have a freaking arrow.
Yes.
I hate it whenever they're like back like this and there's no arrow.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense, does it? No. Did you know that during this particular period of warfare, they kind of had like an element of chemical warfare or sort of biological warfare involved? Because what the archers would do... Well, yeah, because the archers would put their arrows in the ground and in all the detritus and stuff. So when they fired them, it would actually kill you potentially a couple of weeks down the line, even if you didn't kill you straight away, which is cool.
Wasn't that one that they used to do? They'd stick a dead animal onto a trebuchet and fire it into a city?
Yeah, and then it would spread disease and plague and all sorts of different things. Yeah.
And make a very satisfying splat.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
Plague via Bluetooth.
Yeah. Via Harold Bluetooth. And that's a good segue into the Dark Age section of the website.
Completely accidental. Did not know that. There you go.
So as well as doing the medieval stuff, they also do a phenomenal range of Dark Age bits and pieces in metal. And this has substantially grown since we last looked at the company. A lot of their focus over the last little while has been kind of on the Beowulf era of history. So that's kind of early Dark Ages. As opposed to kind of like the sort of later periods. I still would call it probably early medieval by that point, I suppose, if you're being pedantic. But you were talking about the fact that you couldn't find any Rohirrim, John.
Yeah, I'm
John's no Hiram.
Yeah, a lot of the nice stuff that you see here has obviously been done with a kind of Anglo-Saxon Geats, Danes sort of vibe to it. But most of the time, a lot of the miniatures that they've created kind of fit in quite nicely with the aesthetic of kind of the Rohirrim and that Anglo-Saxon culture that you get in Tolkien's work for them as well. So a lot of the time you'll see someone maybe labeled as Hrothgar, for example, from the Hall of Hrothgar. But that could also easily work as, Theoden, for example, in your games. Obviously, Hrothgar's Hall, a major influence on Meduseld, which is the massive hall that Theoden has at the top of Edoras. So that kind of all works quite nicely together, which is really good. But it's not just the Anglo-Saxon stuff and all that kind of thing, and that kind of earlier stuff with Beowulf, with the Geats and the Danes. They also do, as we're seeing here, Vendels, Carolingians, Frankish soldiers, and everything else in between. And again, they're all kind of broken down into that sign of saga vibe. So you have that 4-8-12 system sort of built into this collection as well. A lot of the stuff they've done, again, incredibly highly detailed, even their older bits and pieces that they've done for the Dark Ages, and they are really lovely to paint. As I said, I painted up a whole bunch of the Beowulf stuff from their Kickstarter, and it's like proper little paint by numbers stuff. It's wild. Sort of working on it, it all paints up lovingly, and it's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, John, you can buy some of this now. So and it scales very well with the 28mm stuff.
Sure,
it
does.
I'm sure John has enough for now before looking at expansions.
I have seen John's pile. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, there's a bit. There is a bit.
A bit.
Yeah.
Funnily, it's still one of the most affordable ranges from Workshop.
It is, yeah, because most of the games you play only use a handful of miniatures, so yeah. Although John's gone.
But even just kit pricing, it's way lower than the rest of it.
It's fantastic. It's a great game. Playing it.
I'll maybe show off the pile on Sunday, maybe.
Okay.
We'll see.
Ooh, yeah. So that is our Indie of the Week. Make sure you go and check it out. As I said, there'll be links down below for Medbury, but I'll also put in Infamous JT's Facebook page down there as well, so you can go and have a look at it and see if you can badger him to get the Medbury stuff up on the website. You should do that so that John can buy some models and then I can buy some models. There we go. But yes, with Indie of the Week out of the way, I think it's time for us to dive into the first big news segment of 2025.